Hoo-wee, what a weekend. This is a View from the Bridge, official podcast of the Belfast Giants for kingdomofthegiants.com. Today's Wednesday, the 7th of December, 2022. My name is Patrick Smith. We're live on YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitter, and you can download us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor FM, and a load more of your podcast providers. Also say to your Alexa thingy, just play a View from the Bridge podcast, and it will. Big hello initially to, no doubt, a lot of Manchester Storm fans who are tuning in to see our pain. And you're very welcome. If you're here normally, good to see you again. If you're here just to see our pain, you're very welcome. Probably Steve and Sam, you're probably here. Hello. On this week's show, ouch, the Giants were taken to task by the Storm and came up short in their homecoming. What went wrong? We'll be talking about those games shortly. If you're watching on live, get your questions in for David Goodwin, who will be our guest on the fan agenda. It's one in and one out at the SSE Arena. We'll have that and other news, both foreign and domestic. We'll congratulate the November Player of the Month. And Cardiff are currently in Challenge Cup action against Sheffield. They're losing 4-1 on Viaplay. And they'll face the Giants at home at theirs on Saturday. And with the Stars coming to the arena on Sunday, we'll round off the show with a bit of that. Mr. Majimsey, nice hat.
Thanks. I've just got out of the shower, so my hair's wet. So,
do you want to tell everybody why we're starting at 5 past tonight? Davy
I was in the shower. I'm not in good form. I wasn't in good form from Friday night or Saturday night. Worst form on Sunday. I hurt myself sparring tonight, and then I had to grab a shower like 2 minutes to 9. So I'm not.
What you hurt?
Form. This is that forearm. Down here.
Dear.
Very, very sore.
Was it jiu-jitsu or was it boxing? Or?
Taekwondo. So
nice.
Bit of bad technique from me. Caught a forearm with a forearm. So I'm using a cold beer.
That's a good way to do it, mate. Don't worry. When we come to talking about the games, I've got one of those as well.
So let's go because I've got stuff to say.
Yeah, Joel, what about you? How are you?
Yeah, I'm okay. That's why I only watch sport these days, Paddy, because you can only hurt yourself in very specific ways. That's not for me, Davy. Fair play to you. But now, look, I'm good. We didn't have fun this weekend, and we're here to talk about it. So let's do it.
Just before we start, we got both Jim Lynch and Alex Kunovich asking if you not got the heating on, Davy.
As I say, just jumped out of the shower, so wet hair, no time to gel it up. So that was
dear. Before we get stuck in,
just because it's a woolly hat, like Joel's got a hat on, or is it just the type of hat?
But we know Joel's masking his hair.
Oh, just a hat guy.
I say I speak the truth.
Like a lid guy. Yeah,
just a regular
guy. Big lid guy. It's a big lid on a big lid guy.
That is. To be fair.
Before we get stuck into these games and the pain that they were, Davy, who's that from you? Says
mute yourself there. Go for it.
This is trying to phone you live on the show. Doesn't he know? Well, I suppose it's Wednesday night. You see, he thinks you did it last night. Davy, give us a quick update on what's been going on this week with regards to the fundraiser, Mark Garside, Nick, and all that.
Right. So, first of all, a massive thank you to everyone that has taken part so far. We threw it out there last week that little baby Quinn Garside came along in the summer, had a bit of a tough start to life, but was really, really well looked after by the neonatal intensive care unit in the Ulster. The Garside family wanted to raise some money, as people do in these situations, to give a little back, and we wanted to help out. So we have a game-worn shirt, meet and greet Mark Garside. Every person that enters will get a free signed, well, not free, you've donated, a signed photograph of Mark Garside through a Mark Garside t-shirt that's over there. I will bring it home at Christmas. The Colin Seals one that I owe that other guy is in Belfast now, so we'll see him in the Christmas game. I digress. At the minute, the total is standing at a staggering £581.62. If you can get me up to £600, listeners, live on this show before we've got about an hour, any donations at all in this next hour of podcast, I will go into my roof space and I will pick out a season 1 piece of memorabilia that's in a big box in my roof space and give it to everybody that donates in this sort of podcast section, whether it's £1, whether it's £2, £5, whatever, will go in. Those people specifically will go in the draw for a piece of season 1 memorabilia that I get out of my roof space. So donate in the next hour. I'll keep an eye on the and let's try and get this up to £600, and we'll be at the end of the show. It's closed, and we'll be able to tell Mark and send that money over to Gary tomorrow.
To send that donation, you go to podcast at Kingdom. You send it to podcast at kingdomofthegiants.com on PayPal. That's podcast at kingdomofthegiants.com on PayPal. That's great. The and we're now at 9:10. So
but look, seriously, I know you were looking at this earlier. These are all the names of all the people that have donated so far. So thank you so much. Next week or something, I'll have a scrolling bar of thank you to everybody who's donated. You know who you are because you've donated, but I know who you are as well. Thank you so much.
Absolutely incredible. Thank you to everybody who's been donating so far, and get those donations in the course of this show. And one more thing, we asked about emails and people sending in emails. I just want to give a bit of shout out to Gary Crooks, who sends an email every week of a viaduct. I like that. Sends an email. Is this a viaduct? Is this a viaduct? So thanks, Gary. Keep the emails coming in. Podcast at kingdomofthegiants.com. Right. Should we talk about some ice hockey?
I think I'm just going to put myself on mute and listen to Davy tonight. I feel like he's loaded with takes there. I feel like takes are about to happen.
Right.
There's chaotic energy around my gypsy tonight.
It was a homecoming weekend for the Belfast Giants of sorts. Obviously, after a bit of a road swing, which we spoke about last week, where the Giants took 3 wins out of 6. The opponent of the weekend in back-to-back games on Saturday and Sunday was the Manchester Storm. We'll start with Saturday's game, which was a 5-2 win for the Manchester Storm. Belfast Giants goals come from Ben Lake and Will Cullen, whereas the Storm's goals come from Barrow, Simmons, who got 2, Orval with 1, and Tyson Fawcett was credited with the empty net goal. I'm sure we'll talk about that shortly. Jackson Whistle in goal for the Belfast Giants, 27 shots against, 4 goals against. And Jeremy Brodeur in the other net, 39 shots against, 12 goals against. Patrick, 2 goals against. That's my notes. And the referees were Andy Dalton and Oliver Trustwell, as they were all weekend. Where do we start with this, Davy?
Okay. You can start by running the goals, or you can not run the goals this week. I don't really care. I don't really have that much analysis as it takes on the actual games. I think when I look at statistics are great, and I love stats. And I look at what we did going forward in this game, the amount of grade A chances we had, good chances, good shots, grade A chances we had is enough to win any game, especially a home game. To then do what we did at the other end.
Step up.
Oh, keep it.
Sends it across the top of the circle, shot, and it's in. And Ben Lake ties things up early in this second period. And here come the Teddy Bears.
I left that with a bit of comment because that was probably the highlight of the weekend, was the amount that people generously give the charities here.
Wonderful.
We probably have in and around 200 to 250 guys that have had the absolute honor of pulling on that teal jersey. And we've been very fortunate for the last 15 years to be able to talk about so many highs. And you can critique losses a lot more, and you can get carried away by losses, but we're in a little bit of a situation now where I think we lost 8 games all season last year in terms of winning a title. And I think we're at 7 in the loss column at the minute. I think in Jelly, and actually in this goal, I think Jelly's trying to be clever there. They've got a guy on the ice. They're on the penalty kill at time. The 5th guy is actually already standing on the ice, and I think he throws it down there to try and get the extra penalty. Seen them called. It goes to the right point D-man, who plays it straight back to them, and he drops it in, and they score on the short-handed marker. And from then, the push on. I'll go back to what I was saying about the honor of pulling on. Cliche-ridden. This is going to be a bit of a cliche-ridden rant, but the old, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard and that kind of thing.
Yep. We
did well going forward. Where we did not do well on the back check, we did not do well on the forward check. We made individual mistakes, and we are now so dependent on Goodwin, Conway, Cooper, Ori scoring. We're so dependent on Ben Lake coming up with big shifts. Great to see Hookie coming back in there. Gabe Bass working so hard, but we're making too many individual mistakes, and we complain, critique, whatever. We almost week on week that we need secondary score and we need tertiary score, and we're not getting it. It's now almost Christmas, and it's not panic stations or anything, but we are now at a point where changes are being made. Guys are leaving, new guys are coming in. We're trying to mix it up to try and get our scoring. this is almost a rinse and repeat of what happened the last CHL season that then got called for COVID. And barring COVID coming back, Manchester Storm put 10 goals past us in our own barn at the weekend. And you only need to listen to the players aren't going to be listening to me anyway, but they need to listen to their coach. I'm sure training was tough. It'll be interesting what David Goodwin says. It was an unacceptable. You could just listen to the commentary, the Andrew Dixon, that talk about luck. We score in our own net from 170 feet. But the harder you work, the luckier you get. That old Gary has said about throwing in as many sporting cliches as it can. We're not working hard enough to get those lucky bounces. And that's just about the height of it. And guys will know themselves what they can do more to improve their performances. Don't need some guy sitting in his bedroom shouting at them on a Tuesday night or Wednesday night. Their coach will have driven this into them, but they have to be professional here now. And I was expecting a reaction on Sunday, and we got it and went 2-0 up and then folded like a cheap suit again. We give up easy goals from the outside. We lost our shape on penalty kill very easily. We started running about. We got in there, tried to get it. And then when you go a goal behind, you start to get into that track meet mentality where you're just throwing stretch passes and Hail Mary passes and you're running up and down the ice chasing shadows. And unfortunately for us, I just think across the two games at the weekend, it was a substandard Belfast Giants performance from what we've grown to expect. You can't become, what's the word? You're not entitled. One, the Belfast Giants aren't entitled to win everything. You've got to go out and win every period. And Adam Keefe, and we had it for years, Paddy, since the advent of Twitter, ABF, TV and Twitter stuff, work boots on. Adam Keefe's number one is a blue-collar team that put their work boots on. And I don't think for enough of Saturday. I actually tweeted on Saturday night when I'd watched the game. I watched the two games live and I've watched the two games back and I've watched sections of the games again. Don't think I come here on a Wednesday night without, having watched this. I think that for 60 minutes of the 120, we didn't stink. But you have to play 60 minutes every night in this league. The Storm got what they deserved because they worked for 120 minutes.
Joel, going to come to you in a second. I'm just going to run through the stats for the second game because obviously we're probably better talking about this holistically because of it being the same side in both nights. It was a 5-4 win on Sunday in front of nearly 4,000 people for the Manchester Storm. As Davy said, the Belfast Giants went 2 up through Goodwin and Conway. Ben Lake and Conway got the 4. Ben Lake got the 3rd, Conway got the 4th. But for the Storm, it was Johnson, Tyson Fawcett, Bricknell, Orval, and Critchlow. 5 different scores for them. In net, Peyton Jones was back for the Giants. 5 goals against on 32 shots. And on the other side, it was Hayden Levine. It was 4 goals against on 35 shots. Dults and Oliver Truswell again were the referees. And Joel, probably a point that Davey made there as well is, given them their due, the Storm played well.
And that's the thing you have to remember here. I think to their credit, the Manchester Storm came in and played 2 phenomenal road games. Their firepower, especially through Jesper Arval, is really, really impressive. And you have to take your hat off to Matt Ginn as a rookie coach and what he's put together there. And I think it was said by a lot of people over the weekend that they weren't playing like a team at the foot of the table. And more credit to them, especially coming into an ice surface that they're not used to playing on at home. Obviously, there's a lot more space on that SSE Arena ice, and they made it work for themselves. I think this comes down to, and listen, you're never going to look at me for insightful, analytical sort of hockey chat. I'm here to make silly jokes and to be the eternal optimist and to enjoy whenever the times are good. And we know that. Listen, I've never professed to be an expert. What I am is just a fan. And I think on the ice, from what I saw across the 2 games, I think Andrew Dixon, actually, personal circumstances meant that I had to cover the game from home on Sunday, so I got the chance to tune into Giants TV and listen to Says and Dicko. The pair of them called a great game, as they always do, but Dicko, Says used to pump Dicko up, and rightfully so. Like, he's really, really good at that colour comms role, and the thing that he said was it fell below the expectations that the Belfast Giants set and always has set, and as a body of performances, as 6 periods of hockey over 2 days, the entire weekend fell below the expectations that we set for ourselves, and that's not I don't mind if we get beaten by a team that play better than us. I think that we were outworked for across the two nights. I think you could see it in the desire to get to rebounds in our zone. I think you could see it in the desire to get to loose pucks. And just how hard the Manchester Storm worked to take their chances on the break. Their commitment whenever collapsing around Brodeur, whenever they were, collapsing around the crease and putting bodies in front of shots whenever we were in the zone. They just looked hungrier across the 6 periods, and I'm not going to try and dip into the reasons for that. We're obviously just back off a grueling month on the road. We're short on bodies, but I'm not in that room. I don't know. But I mean, you could see it. It's a surprise to nobody, including the players. You could see it from the coach's reaction, from the players' reaction, and from all the conversation that there's been since, that it was a weekend where we were absolutely not our best. I do think, though, as much as we all love this, that this is something that obviously means a lot to many different people in many different ways. One thing I can't stand is whenever people lose the run of themselves after a couple of tough games. See abuse and people turn on each other. They turn on the team. They get aggressive on the internet. It's such a bad look, man. Go outside. Like, at the end of the day, this is not life or death. Do you know what I mean? This is a game of ice hockey. Regardless of how much it means to you, there's no need to be abusing officials and cracking up on the internet. I just think it's a bad look. People just need to take a breath and realize what it is. Last thing, David, I'll let you come in, but the one stat that I did take away from the weekend, if you let me be the stat man for 1 second, 1,253 soft toys tossed onto the ice and hundreds of gifts donated, which is more than ever before. And to me, if you're looking at what the most important thing was across the weekend, it's easy for me to say because we sucked all weekend, but that's something very special that everybody that was in that arena and that building did over the weekend, and should be very, very proud of themselves.
Yeah, let's not try and use the teddy bear toss as some kind of mask. Let's not be those guys. But absolutely, Joel, the generosity of people. You'll have seen the videos and the stuff that was the toys, apart from the stuff that was tossed, the toys, and I think they're going to do that again this Sunday as well. You'll be able to bring gifts if you want this Sunday. Absolutely phenomenal response from the people of Belfast, and I talked about the Mark Garside one. Phenomenal response, and in the last, how long's the podcast been going here? About 10 minutes, couple of £100 in. Can't thank you enough. Keep it coming. It's like Red Nose Day here. We'll have Lenny Henry on here in 5 minutes.
Davy's attic's going to be empty, but when you see his flight over to Belfast on that EasyJet, just trying to push everything on.
It's going to look like Rockies.
And I need more donations here to cover the Ryanair baggage fee. But talking about the official, like whatever, I know exactly what was said. I'm not going to repeat it about Andy Dalton. Absolutely, you're a disgrace. If you're watching this, mate, disgrace. You need to check your hard drive, man. You're not all there. You can't be saying stuff like that about officials who now have kids who are coming in age that can get on social media, read that about their parents. These guys make mistakes. We on the podcast are a catalogue of mistakes. The Giants make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes in life. And yes, they're getting paid to do a job and all, and they should sometimes do it better, but they're there, and without them, none of us have a game to go and watch. So think what you're typing on. I've seen some horrible stuff on Twitter this weekend from Giants fans. A fan base that turn on each other for no reason. There's bullying and stuff going on there, and it won't be tolerated. We'll call you out on it, and you can't be doing that to officials. You can't be doing that to fellow fans. So just check what you're typing before, and be kinder to each other. But back on the ice, back on the hockey, thank you, Deco, Kiefer, Steve Thornton, and all will have said this to the boys. And they know that there's a big, and we're out of time. And the next game is very, very important in a few days. Big game in Cardiff, big game in Belfast, and then a big game next week again against the Panthers. So, there's no time to be moping. There's no time to be dwelling on it. You just got to get those work boots on, boys.
I think my take from the weekend was work rate, and I think both you gents have mentioned it. It felt like the work rate wasn't as high as it had been in previous weeks or in previous setups of the Giants, and especially coming home after a long road swing the way that we had, and trying to make a point against a team who, to be fair to the Manchester Storm, played very, very well. We've got some good players on there who were working really hard, skating towards the puck and making sure that they made the most of the opportunities that they got, but this should have been a team that the Belfast Giants should have dealt with on home ice, and there's no getting away from that. Disappointing overall, but there's been people saying about how we've been short on bodies, Davy. Is that a factor?
Well, look, I say it almost every week. We have always prided ourselves on being a no-excuse organisation. So we'll not make injuries and shortness of bodies an excuse. It's a factor. It's clearly a factor. We have, for the best part of the season, been so reliant on that one line and a little half line and some scoring from the back end. We haven't been getting that secondary scoring. There's a lot of pressure on 3/4 guys that keep producing. And when some systems come up against them and manage to keep them out of the game, and we're not getting that secondary and tertiary scoring that we talked about, and you go on that long road trip and you were down, the other week we're 6 bodies down, in one game. That's two top lines that any other team in this league would want those 6 guys on the ice. 6 top guys, it's not, in the depth chart, 6 really important guys to us. So yes, injuries are absolutely a factor, but I don't think anyone within our organization will want to bring that out as an excuse. It's a factor. There's no doubt about it. And there's a really, really fine line, Paddy, between coming up with an excuse and saying, you face adversity and you have to deal with it. I think that we'll go back to what Dicko said. We'll go back to what Adam has said, and guys in commentary and throughout the week. That wasn't what we have come to expect from guys that pull on the tail jersey, and they'll look at themselves in the mirror and decide whether they've got more to give, and hopefully every single one of them will put in a performance this weekend.
I fully agree, and I thought both Dicko and Gareth Martin on Saturday did a great job.
Marty's great. Sorry,
yeah,
Marty's great. Sorry, Paddy. Marty wasn't around whenever whenever Marty was active in the organization. I wasn't around, so I've only really had a chance to chat to him for a few weeks up in media, and I've heard what he does on the broadcast with says. But that is a top fella. I would actually quite like to get a chat with him on the show about his perspective. Sorry to interrupt you, but that just popped into my head. Really,
he is a great guy, and he is somebody we're going to bring on to the show in the forthcoming weeks. I had a chat last season with him about coming on, and I'm going to revive that, and we're going to bring him on. Before we move on, we've got David Goodwin waiting in the wings to join us for a chat. Before we do that, Joel, how do the Giants recover coming into next week?
The coach said it, Adam Keefe said in his post game after the weekend that it was frankly embarrassing, his words. And we know that. We know who Adam Keefe, the player, was from day one when he arrived on these shores under Doug Christensen in 2011. We know Adam Keefe, the coach, and we know what it is that he demands of his team, and that is to work. To do hard work. The only way to dig yourself out of a situation like this is through hard work. Adam Keefe has been successful in his hockey career as a blue collar worker. And as a coach, as a team who implements a culture of hard work and honest work. And I have no doubt that the boys, and maybe Goody will be able to tell us in a second, I've no doubt the boys get the bag skated off them this week. But listen, I believe still in the character of Adam Keefe. I still believe in the character of this team. The captain, who we'll chat to now. A bad weekend. We sucked. Everybody knows it, but I don't think that we're dead yet.
And yes, and well done to the Manchester Storm, playing 3 games in 3. They played Coventry Blaze on Friday night and got humped at home, and then came over to ours and took 4 points. Davey, you want to make a point before we move on?
So I saw a tweet on, I don't know when it was. I screenshotted it, and it wasn't necessarily about hockey, but it was about that sort of growth mindset and sticking to a process. And we talked earlier in the piece about, the Belfast Giants, and especially Adam Keefe teams are founded on that work boots on. We used to have a hashtag every Road Warriors. You remember every Saturday night when we were promoting games, Road Warriors, work boots on. And that was what we always prided ourselves on being. And that's what we are. This guy, Kevin DeShazo, says farmers don't dig up their seeds to see if they're growing. They keep doing the work, cultivating, trust the process, and they prepare for the harvest. Growth takes time. Results take time. Be patient, be persistent, do your work, focus on habits, and be ready for the harvest.
The highlights from the games of the weekend, the highlights from the games over the weekend. If you want to go and watch them, that's up to you. Fair play. They're available on YouTube from our very good friends at Belfast Giants TV. And speaking of Belfast Giants TV, they are the proud sponsors of the Fan Agenda. And this week we are joined by the captain on the back of that weekend. Please welcome back to View from the Bridge, David Goodwin. How are you doing?
Boys, good to see you. I'm doing well.
You're the captain.
Good to see you too. give us your reflection as captain on the weekend that just went by.
Yeah, obviously it was very disappointing. In a lot of ways, it was a perfect storm of things that could go wrong, went wrong. Really unfortunate, really embarrassing, to be honest. And I think, as one of you just alluded to, we paid the price with a couple hard bag skates this week, and we're looking to put that in the past.
As captain, obviously in the back of what happened on Saturday and trying to get it, and you went 2-up on Sunday, and it unfortunately didn't go from there. But how do you take the lead in the room when you feel that things are taking a turn?
Yeah, like you said, I mean, both games we felt there was a point where the tide was turning in our favor. So it makes it even a little bit more unfortunate that we had opportunities to win both those games. We could have, taken control of both of them and ran with it. For me, like, I just, as one of you were saying, I just try to stick to my good habits, my good routines. I try to lead from the front, and I try to, show the guys that really the only way out of this is getting back to the basics, getting back to what has made us successful. And ultimately, that is hard work and good habits. There's no shortcutting. There's no just waiting for power plays, hoping for, good bounces here or there. Absolutely not.
David, we talked earlier there about the, I'm not asking you to call any teammates out. That's not what I'm talking about. But the majority of the scoring this season has came from the likes of Mark Cooper, Scott Conway, David Goodwin, Steve Orry when he's been up in that line, a little bit from the blue line from Gabe Bass. Lakers came up with a boot. We have had a problem, if you want to describe it like that, almost all season with getting that secondary and tertiary scoring going. Is what can we do at the minute just to try and spark some of those guys? We can't just keep putting guys in the top line.
Yeah, I mean, I have every bit of confidence in all of the forwards on our team. They've all proven that they can score. Some of them have played in really good leagues and put up great numbers. This is our team moving forward, and we need to give them every bit of confidence that we believe in them and we think they can get it going. And part of that falls on me. And in practice, I am continuously saying to these guys, like, hey, like, it's going to start coming for you. Keep doing the right things, the right habits, and put in the work, and just trust that it'll come.
I don't know if you heard me reading that sort of dopey little tweet out there before you came on, but is that all it's about? It's about fun. Like, as you said, when we talk about, I named some names. Tyler Soy came in here off a great junior career with early, really promising pro career. Evangeli, big body. David Gilbert came up with goals early in the season. All these guys have great CVs, and we've seen glimpses of what they can bring. Is it just sticking to the process and keep believing?
Yeah, as long as I've been around the game, like, there really is no other recipe to kind of getting back on track besides hard work. And you guys alluded to it with Kiefer, what he said, like, practice habits absolutely, lead to the results you're looking for in your individual play in the game. And that's what we've been harping on this week. Obviously, that's the approach that Kiefer has taken. He was very clear about that to the media after both games. And hard work individually and as a team is the only way that we're going to get out of this. So yes, I would agree with that, Davy.
Cap, you obviously you came late to the Belfast Giants shortly before the season that obviously was curtailed early, and were away for a little while before coming back. It's a unique perspective because you dipped into the league, dipped out, and then came back in obviously the role as captain that you are now. Do you feel that the league has become the margins between the teams in the league, regardless of facilities, regardless of the building they play out of, seems to just get squeezed tighter and tighter and tighter every year? Like, we're going to move on later in the show to talk about the scores from the weekend, and it's nuts. It doesn't make sense. You've got a team that are getting shellacked 6-1 one night against a team that they should be beating, and they go away the next night and cause an upset. It seems to be happening more and more this season. Do you get a sense now when you go out there and put your skates on the ice that there really aren't games that you think, yeah, we're probably going to win this?
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, that's something that I think, some of the older guys, I guess I'm one of the older guys now. We talk about that, and there's no easy games. Like, and even 4 years ago when I was first here, maybe there were a few situations where you felt like you could take, your foot off the gas, but now there's just absolutely none of that. I think a good example of that is I saw a tweet, the other, like a few days ago, talking about how if Guildford wins the league, they're going to be hosting Davos and Shaleftio and Tapara in their I don't even know what that ring.
A leisure center.
The community center, the YMCA. So but tip your cap to them. Like they've obviously had a great season and they've been making it work. But to your question, Joel, yeah, like back in the day, like you would never have thought that they could do something like that, and here they are. So it's really impressive.
And just another thing, you obviously captained the Penn State Nittany Lions in your senior year. You went on to win a Big Ten championship that season, 2016-17. I had a look earlier on just at your record from that season, and fairly early, not probably about mid-season. Sorry, you had a shootout loss against Ohio State, which then led to a 4-game losing streak before you bounced back against the Wisconsin Badgers. As a captain, can you draw similarities? You're looking back at that, you're in the weeds, you're thinking, man, we were on for a title here and now we're losing back to back. Do you draw from experience like that and how you managed to dig, yourselves out of a hole and turn things around there and be successful?
100%. Absolutely. And that's also a good question for Peyton Jones because he was on that team as well. And I specifically remember, being in those dog days that season as well. And just getting back to the basics, getting back to practice. No one's coming to save us. It's us or no one. And the reality is, yes, like we're far behind in the standings right now, but there's a lot of hockey to play, and we have a good group of players, and we feel confident in ourselves. So shitty weekend, absolutely, but at the end of the day, we're focused on Cardiff and only Cardiff right now.
Yep.
It is interesting because obviously we had a road swing there where we pulled 500 and we had some good wins against Sheffield, we had good wins against Manchester itself, and then you come back and you've before two bad losses against the Manchester Storm, and all of a sudden you're starting to think, because if you look at those games that we did play on the road, we played a lot of them short. You look at how that game we lost to the Nottingham Panthers, if that game was 5 minutes longer, we probably would have come back and forced overtime at least. Sure. So the grit and determination was there. It's very easy in a weekend that's just gone by, taking those 2 losses, and bad losses as they were against the Storm, who are 3rd or 4th from bottom, and to sort of think, oh no, everything's going wrong. But that's not really the case, is it?
No, I mean, again, like we have seen so many glimpses throughout this season of championship caliber performances from us. Mm-hmm. Like there's no doubt. And you alluded to some of them, Patty, but the reality is, it doesn't, you can't lay an egg twice against Manchester at home when you haven't been home for a month. And we know that, but we're not mashing the panic button. We're going to dig deep and we're going to find that mojo that we had in some of those instances that you're referring to.
I'm going to go. Sorry, Davy, you come in before I go to the questions.
So before you go to Twitter and stuff, I was talking. Paddy had asked me a question just before you came on, David, about the injury situation, and I'd said about we are always go along the line of we're a no excuse organization. Playing 6 bodies deep with 2 good lines in this league, it's without making it sound like an excuse. That's adversity that's hard to overcome.
Yeah. I think the way one of you guys characterize it, you're absolutely right. Like it's not an excuse, but it's certainly a factor. And we're trying to deal with it the best we can. And a lot of that falls on, the guys that are still healthy, and we got to just find a way to get results, because the reality is no one cares that, we have injuries. Our fans don't really care, like the coaching staff, the other teams certainly don't care. So it sucks, but we got to find a way to get some points.
And then suppose for before, just for me to wrap up, Patty, no more questions for me after this, I promise. As captain, one of your rules obviously then is, as you said, when you lay 2 eggs in a row, you get the call from the podcast, because it's easy to analyze wins, and it's great to get the man of the match on who scored the game-winning goal on Saturday night. But we talking on Monday morning on our little group, right? Who we're going to ask, to be on the podcast this week, and it'll be Steve already scored 4. He's the obvious one. But this week, it's what you've got to go to the captain, you've got to go to the cap or the coach. And so thanks very much, first of all, for taking that responsibility on. But is that something that just comes with the rule?
Yeah, I guess. I was kind of rolling my eyes when I got that message. Of course, you guys invite me in
what a type that I thought that.
What did one of you guys say on Twitter? The worst weekend in Giants history in the last 7 years. Like, oh yeah, let's get Goody on.
We actually just missed it.
It's that C on the shirt, man.
Yeah, and you know what, Petty? Like, You're absolutely right. But on the other hand of that, like, it comes with a lot of glory when things are going well, and hopefully I'll be lifting more championship trophies at the SSE.
That's the case, and if that is the case, then you're back on. Don't you worry about that.
You get that call too, yeah.
But let's go to a couple of questions that we've got. We obviously, as we normally do, we called for questions from people who are watching live, or sent some in on Twitter. We'll go first of all. I think you'll get the gist of a lot of questions that are coming in are going to ask a similar sort of vein. But we'll start with the one from Neil, who's saying, because of the losses at the weekend, is the preparation for Cardiff this weekend any different than previous trips to Cardiff, or is it just the same?
A little bit of the same and a little bit different. Obviously, the intensity level at practice is much higher than it has been in previous weeks. So in that regard, it is different. Like, there's a different feel around the locker room. There's a different feel on the ice. But it's also like, Kiefer, we're doing the same drills. We're doing the same preparation. We're having, the same style of play. So a little bit of yes and no there.
Alan Brett, I think you answered this one sort of earlier on, but what was the first training session after the weekend's results? How was that?
There were no pucks and a lot of skating, and we had our heart rate monitors on, and everyone was maxed out on the heart rate monitor chart. So they can read between the lines with that information.
Scott Cameron on Twitter is asking, how has your role as captain changed currently compared to what it was last season, or is it all it stays the same?
For the most part, it stays the same. I don't know if we had this type of adversity last year. I'm not saying it was smooth sailing, but nothing like this that I can remember came about. So I just think a few more harder conversations with Kiefer, a few more harder conversations with the guys, a few more, gut checks in the mirror. And, hopefully this is kind of the low light of the year.
One from Lily Cameron. What's the best thing about being captain of the team?
I think just having the opportunity to have good relationships with everyone on the team. I'm in a unique situation that, regardless if guys want to talk to me or not, they do talk to me because I'm the captain. And so I get the opportunity to, go for coffees, go for lunches with all the boys individually. And it's something that I take a lot of pride in.
Go on, Davy. You can take it now.
Oh, sorry. I thought Joe was going to go first there, and I've lost my train. Oh yeah. So obviously we've had a good debrief there on what went wrong at the weekend, and the old Mike Babcock, don't get too high with the highs, don't get too low. Hockey cliches that will come across. Step away from the hockey ever so slightly, and with the first goal the other night, the Belfast Giants scored. I think Ben Lake scores it. The teddies come onto the ice, and the toys that were left at the rink, and we've been doing a little thing on the podcast this week, raising money for Quinn Garside, £600 plus raised by people. The generosity, and as a captain of this great club, that must give you great pride as well.
Yeah, that's a huge reason why I continue to come back, is some of the philanthropic work that the Giants do. Makes me very proud to be a part of an organization like this when they're doing that work. So very appreciative of all the support from the Giants fans, especially for Quinn.
I also saw you in the tennis tournament today wearing your Dahi top. Which,
yes,
I think is a good look on you, mate. But look, I think we've probably flogged the dead horse for long enough. How did the tennis tourney go? Was that a little bit of an opportunity to blow off some steam? And please give us the inside track on who sucked and who was unreal.
It was great crack. It was right after our bag skate. I mean, we're talking after. And we still, because Better Gym they did such a good job running it, we were able to have a good time doing it, even though we were all just completely dead. Wiss was brutal. Wiss was paired with Cons, and Cons was really good. Wiss was brutal, but ultimately Cons could not make up the deficit for Wiss. Who was actually really good was George Awada. He was probably top 4 tennis players on our team.
Has he still got the moves? Like, was he moving like a cat around there?
When he would get up to the net, he had good footwork, and he was just so big, and he could just smash anything at the net.
You never lose it.
No, I mean, he was really good. I'll try to give you one more. I think Peyton Jones, just because of his athletic ability, he was always returning shots and running around the court like a little bunny. So he was pretty good as well.
I'm surprised you always get guys. I'm surprised there's no guys saying, I played tennis in college, or I was, I was a junior pro or something like that.
There was none of that. Hookie and Laker were brutal as well. I just want to chirp them once.
They're not upper middle class enough Brits to be good at tennis. Unfortunately, you put them on like a street soccer pitch and they'll run rings around you. But tennis, they probably never held a bat. What's it called? A racket in their life.
Racket. Yeah.
What's it called?
A tennis bat.
Never watched Wimbledon in your life, Joel Neal.
I'm from Lard, mate. Come on.
Well, listen, David. We're going to let you go. Really appreciate you coming on. Just before you do go, though, obviously we're trying to rebound this weekend, going away to Cardiff and back to Dundee. How are our preparations?
Yeah, things are going well. I mean, obviously we've had some good performances against Cardiff this year. I think the boys are, drawing from that, and hopefully we'll go into Cardiff feeling confident.
Well, listen, mate, we appreciate, obviously, like I say, when you are the captain, we did say, it's either going to be Goody or Kiefer, and you've we said, well, let's get Goody on and have a chat, and we really appreciate you coming on, facing up and answering some no doubt tough questions to answer after the weekend. Good luck this weekend against Cardiff and Dundee, and we appreciate your time.
Yep. Cheers, boys. Appreciate it.
Cheers, Goody.
Thank you, David.
Big thanks to David Goodwin for his time. Like I say, Davy, it's difficult in scenarios like that. If when we lose 2 games to Manchester, and you try not to be disparaging about Manchester. Okay, well, sometimes I try not to be disparaging. Quite often, I try not to be disparaging about Manchester. I live there, but with regards to the story, we try not to be disparaging. But that was a team we expected to beat. We expected to come home. We expected to beat them. We didn't. And therefore, we want questions to be answers.
And maybe in your question comes a little bit of the answer. We expected to go out there and win.
You're right.
And nothing worth winning ever came easy. And we really just needed to. There's somebody asking why we've blocked them. It's probably a dead straightforward reason why you're blocked. Sorry, I got a pop up in the corner there. Why am I blocked on Twitter? We probably came with the attitude of, well, we just need to go out here and go through the motions, which is what it felt like a little bit at the time. We went through motions and we got served. Talking about tennis, we got served exactly what we deserved at the weekend, and it needs to be a real proper wake-up call that there is no time left. That every game in this league, and I think I've said it every single week, and it's ad nauseum, every game in this league campaign is so important.
Always is.
Only because everyone else is cutting everyone else's throats. There's maybe a chance that 10 or 11 games dropped might win you the league this season, but it's not going to be more than that. With very, very little error room left, and we just have to lace those boots up tight on Friday night or Saturday night and come away with a win and get the show back on the road.
But before we we move on to talk about news, we're going to talk now about news within the Belfast Giants camp, and it was 1 in, 1 out for the Belfast Giants. On the way out, Chad Butcher was announced on Twitter that he was moving on from the Belfast Giants, and coming in, returning to the Belfast Giants is Josh Roach. Joel, we'll start off with the departure of Chad Butcher. Unexpected, or do you think these changes have to be made?
I don't know. I don't know if he would have been sort of the name that sprang to mind if we were going to ring the changes. I also don't know the circumstances around the changes, whether it's a straightforward case of Chad Butcher's, not worked out the way they would have wanted to, and it's a thank you very much. Maybe the situation hasn't worked between the two. I don't know the ins and outs. I'm not in the room, and I don't know. Davy, I think, put it really well on Twitter this week. I just people come and go through this organization. They all come and they all arrive here with our full backing and full support. Hopefully they all leave with our full support as well, but sometimes it just doesn't work out. But all you can do when that happens, and we've seen it time and time again, Brock McBride, wherever you are, but sometimes it doesn't work out, and you just have to say thank you very much for your contributions and wish him very well in the future. I think there's nothing wrong with heading into the business end of the season. Once Christmas is out of the way, I'm starting to look at the table as we keep talking about. So there's nothing wrong with maybe trying to mix it up a little bit. The opportunity to bring Josh Roach back could prove to be an absolute masterstroke for Adam Keefe. You've got a very versatile player there that can go both ways, and he's proven on the back end, which is something that we need at the minute, obviously with Kevin Rain's status and a big kind of hole in the team. I probably would still be interested to see if we look to bring anyone else in. I don't know. But listen, yeah, like it is what it is. The proof's in the pudding, and I say thanks very much to Chad Butcher for his contributions. Wish him no ill will at all, and wish him the best for wherever he goes next.
There is a question, Davy, coming around as well, especially when the weekend has gone by, and we're not going to delve into that again. And we've got coming in from Stephen Mills. Do we expect to see more players leave? I don't think it's a case of, the Belfast Giants aren't renowned for making many changes. We have made changes. It's not unusual. We have made changes mid-season. We have brought players in. David Goodwin was a player that we brought in late in the season. We've got, was it Ryan Lowney who came in? We've had players who come in. Pamberg who came in late in the season. Guys who we have picked up, but it's not as common for the Giants. Will it happen more? I guess we'll see.
You hear a lot, you read a lot on Twitter about a dry market, and we have this conversation on various WhatsApp groups as well. That, this organization, 365 days a year, are scouring the market for players. If there's a player that becomes available that improves our roster, no matter what we're doing, the Belfast Giants will be looking at them. And I've no doubt that it will continue to be the case, especially as we factor in guys being hurt, guys that have been out longer term. We don't know what their current status is. We've got to look at, is there a short-term replacement available for them? This is a bad time of year. I'm actually quite heartened by the attitude of Josh Roach that'll come in the second week in December. He's given up his Christmas in North America to come and play for us, which tells me a little bit about the badge on the chest as well, that he wants to play for it. I would say Roach will probably come in, and especially the way the press releases were a lot worded, D-man / forward. I think probably at this stage, we don't necessarily need another Josh Roach in defence. We need a Jim Vandermeer, all these players that you don't have, a Griffin Reinhardt, the big 6'4" stay-at-home guy, because we have the Gabe Bass, the Will Cullen, the Matt Foley, the Jeff Baum, the guys that will get forward and supplement, the guys that will be first across the blue line. And then, what we're not getting perhaps is the third man high enough from the forward. So would there be changes if changes are there to be made? I have absolutely no doubt about that. I did
if
say
they're able to be made
Butcher,
as well, as you say.
Yeah, if they're able to be made, if there's a player there that Adam Keefe can improve our squad with, Adam Keefe will have no problem doing that. I think there's been times that we've been guilty. Can you be too loyal? Is that a thing? I'm not sure that is a thing, actually. I think you have to be in life. It's very important to be loyal, but I think that it's important in hockey that if you give somebody the opportunity, that you give them the opportunity to pay you back. But, if there's players that'll improve it. Said about Chad Butcher, I was listening to a song the other day, and it reminded me a bit like Frankie Beauvillier as well the other season. I think, what do you call the guy that sang it? Racy or somebody sang it. Some girls do, some girls don't. Some girls need a level of them, some girls don't. It works out sometimes. It doesn't work out all the time. Guys get homesick. Guys get their heads turned by different offers. It's just not working out for him in the roster, and he just wants a change. So maybe he's just taking an opportunity for a change, and it's coming at a bad time for us when we're short on bodies. That's not ideal, but he was out injured, so I don't know whether that was a factor in his decision as well. So we wish him well. He came. He's been part of the story, part of the fabric of the club for a little while, and he goes on to something else. And he was one of the lucky ones. He got to put that jersey on, but we'd all love to put on. So congratulations on him for that, and safe travels, kid.
Interesting from my point of view as well, of bringing Josh Roach back in. Roachy, obviously, the last time he was here, I'm going to make the fatal error of reading Elite Prospects, Davy, and I apologize for this, but according to Elite Prospects, he was 55 points in 64 games, including playoffs. Which is a great return for a player who's playing both, sort of a utility player coming from D and forward. He obviously has the ability forward going, and we'll see. Like you said, I agree with you. I think there's a level that we need a bit more of a solid defensive presence at this moment in time. And I think that Roachy's going to bring that sort of stepping forward, the likes that we've gotten Cully and other lads. But then, he's obviously a player who's available, a good player who's available, who went on to Linz Black Wings and did great stuff with them, was back with them a couple of times. And as you said, he's coming back in now, coming up to Christmas, to a team that he knows, an organization that he knows, and hopefully he can have an impact. With regards to the other players on the team, I guess, we're coming into that time now where a lot of teams might be making changes. I'm looking at now at Cardiff are losing 5-1 to Sheffield, and they're going through a few issues themselves, and they're going to be wanting to make changes. You've got I know what Joel's going to mention in the news, probably the changes that happen in Glasgow, and there are, every club is out there, and every club's out there looking for a top level player and looking to bring in a top level player if they're available, if they can get them. It's a dog eat dog world in the recruitment game with regards to elite league ice hockey, and not just elite league ice hockey, but right across Europe. So whoever comes in, if we're able to get players to come in, hopefully they can make an impact. But welcome back to Josh Roach, and hopefully we'll get a chat with him maybe next week when he comes back into the country. Go on, Joel.
Sorry, Paddy, you're starting to notice I want to speak before I even do anything now. Thanks. Just before we move on to that, it probably makes sense to slot this in as well. Kevin Rain obviously posted a wee bit of an update during this week, just saying a lot of incoming messages today. My injury has seen a process of diligence and care facilitated by the Belfast Giants, of which I'm so grateful. I'm committed to my rehabilitation process as per the recommendation of medical experts. We ain't finished. Much love, Rainer. First of all, it's lovely to see that. It's lovely to see the club standing over their players as they always have done, whenever any kind of long-term injury strikes. Don't be hitting Rainer with the, when are you back on the ice, though? Like, Rainer's only focus right now should be his long-term recovery and him being okay as a person. All of this is important. We wear the badge on our chest for a reason. We give up our time to do this for a reason. But nothing is more important than your well-being. And in 10 and 15 years' time, I can consider just how much Rainer's given physically, for the organization. Quite literally physically, if you look at the end of last season, for the organization over the past couple of years, as many other players have. But I think it seems to me that Rainer's focus right now should just be on getting himself better, and probably don't be hitting him with so are you talking a couple of weeks or when are you back?
What's with the social media passion from you today? Proper social media passion. People on Twitter saying this, people on Facebook saying that. Why's up with you?
I'm doing it in a constructive way. I'm doing it in a
nice way.
If you say it while you smile, it means you're not mean. Anyway, yeah, it was nice to see that from Rainer. Nice to see the Giants taking care of their player. But anyway.
Before we move on to the next section, just to bring it back, if you are, Davy, if I'm seeing this right, there have been 27 donations in the time that we've been on air. With regards to the,
have you been scrolling? There's been some big donations as well. Somebody donated. I don't want to, in case they don't want to be named, but someone donated £100. So thank you so much. I'll put a total. I promise, Neil Russell, I will put a total out tonight. At the end of the show, I'll go down and update the spreadsheet that I've got going, and I'll put out a total. And when Joel's doing the news, I'll jump into the roof space here and pull out something from the box.
It's time, Davy. Get ready. Go hit that ladder, son.
Time for the news. Hit the mute button.
Keep the donations coming. Go to PayPal, send it to podcast@kingdomofthegiants.com, and it's going to a fantastic cause. And Davy's going to take. Ready, Davy? Go, Joel. News time.
Oh, off he goes. Look, like a cat. As you alluded to, Paddy, we have two Challenge Cup quarterfinal first legs underway tonight. The Dundee Stars and the Fife Flyers are. Oh, that finished 4-4. That was a tie because obviously it's two-legged. It was looking there to see if they were going to overtime. So they will go into the second leg on a nice even footing, and the Sheffield Steelers are currently 5-1 up at home against the Cardiff Devils. And that seems to be
Just
getting
under a
right
minute
to
to
the
go.
end. Yeah, lots of penalties flying there towards the end. But yes, anyway, this past week in the Viaplay Elite Ice Hockey League, the Manchester Storm started their 3-3 in Altrincham with a 5-1 defeat to the Coventry Blaze. No idea what happened in the other two. Won't be looking that up. Doesn't matter. Meanwhile, the Fife Flyers travelled to Nottingham and dismantled Corey. This is a stunning result, by the Dismantled Corey Nielsen's Panthers 6-1 on the road.
Sexy Nielsen hockey.
Yeah, the Flyers on the road rolling in there into that building and dismantling them 6-1 as the new coach's hot start continued. On Saturday, the Sheffield Steelers were beaten 3-2 at home by the Cardiff Devils. The Panthers travelled to Dundee and needed OT to claim Corey Nielsen's first win. 5-4 the final score. He finally got off the mark. I think that was the fourth time of asking. Oh, thanks. I appreciate that. Stop it.
Comment in saying I'm trying to be a better person. So here goes. Joe's new hair is lovely.
Main story tonight in the news. My new hair is lovely. Thank you very much. The Guildford Flames kept the dream alive in Coventry, beating the Blaze 5-4. The Glasgow Clan travelled to Kirkcaldy to defeat the Flyers 3-2. This is what I mentioned earlier with Goody, just the topsy-turviness of the results at the minute. Teams are just scalping each other all weekend. That was Saturday, and on Sunday, the Blaze completed their homestand with a 5-4 shutout win over the Steelers. The Flames returned to the Spectrum to brush the Clan off, coming from behind to win 5-3, and the Devils completed a 4-point weekend with a 6-4 victory over the Dundee Stars in Cardiff Bay. As you mentioned, Paddy, Glasgow Clan forward Mathieu Roy, or if you're from Larne, Matthew Roy, has left the Glasgow Clan with immediate effect to pursue a longer-term hockey opportunity back home in Canada. The rumours aren't true, sadly. He's not becoming the new host of A View from the Bridge. It's a longer-term hockey opportunity, but it's not quite as lofty as that. The 36-year-old originally joined the Clan back in 2019, having previously iced for the Sheffield Steelers during a 4-year stint, ends his time in the Elite League with 339 points in 328 league and cup matches. Seems to be an amicable... Oh, what's that word? Amicable?
I'm sorry, it was what?
They seem to be leaving on good terms. Clan
That's
associate coach Dyson Stevenson said a very good job opportunity for the future became available to him. He came in and told me of his situation and was very upset with having to leave a team, especially because everything's starting to head in the right direction. Love his optimism. However, he's a veteran player with a family, and he thought it was very important to put his family and future first, and I think that's very respectable. Paddy, 339 points in 328 league and cup matches. Somebody who played top minutes for Glasgow. That is a big, big blow for that team.
It's a massive blow for that team. We know how good Mateo was. We saw how good he was. You know, he wasn't called the King of Sheffield for no reason. Davy's back. He's got some stuff. He wasn't called the King of Sheffield for absolutely no reason. The guy was a phenomenal presence. And when we went back to Glasgow, I have to say I was quite surprised. I thought we'd seen the last of him, and for him to come back in and do what he did with the Glasgow organisation. Okay, they didn't win anything. They never do. But it's what they do with the Glasgow organisation was phenomenal, and fair play to him. That is a huge hole, a huge gap for them to fill. But as I said just 5 minutes ago, everybody is in the market for better players.
True story. Last bit of news, just Dops has fined Sheffield Steelers Matt Petgrave for abuse of an official at the end of their game against the Devils on the 3rd of December and warned him about his future conduct. The incident will be recorded on the team's record for the remainder of the 22-23 season, with Petgrave classified as a repeat offender and subject to further tariffs if future incidents occur. Dops still being that kind of Orwellian moral police. But there you go.
Yeah. I'm glad I saw this. And are you sure he definitely did it, or did he fake it? Who knows?
And on that bombshell, that's your news. Patrick Smith. Davy, welcome back.
Welcome back, Davy. You're on mute.
You're going to unmute yourself?
So that's where unmute yourself. What you get, Davy?
I've got two things. I've got two things. I'm not going to show them because one's downstairs still. I've got the very first time we ever played the Cardiff Devils mint condition program from our first ever game against the Cardiff Devils. So might interest Cardiff Devil fans that are watching. You've got about 2 minutes to donate. And I've got a male, the Mangler Angelstad fight DVD. Every fight he ever had.
Remember he used to sell those?
That's amazing.
Mad male Angelstad DVD. I'm not going to say whether this
is
like
one of the official ones that he was selling there, Davey.
I'm not sure if this is an official.
I've got
looked like
the
the
merch
official,
stand.
because I remember the official ones had a packaging and casing, Davy.
Simon Kitchen was the with that. He maybe has still got a box he can give them.
That was
This-
the master copy, Paddy. That was the master
Yeah,
copy.
you master copy.
this is the one from Nuts. He was Nuts Corner. So like a Mel Angelstad DVD and the first ever Cardiff Devils program. So
You found
all
some
the
nuts
people
for
that are
Mark. It's actually
scrolling
from
along the
Mel
bottom,
Mangelstad.
everybody
You found
that's
just
donated,
some guy bare knuckle boxing in Larne.
everybody that's scrolling along the bottom there has donated during the podcast. So thank you
very good.
so much.
What's it like up there?
Podcast at
Davey? What was it like?
kingdomofgiants.com on PayPal. Keep it coming. Listen, we really appreciate all the money that's coming, and we really appreciate everybody who's getting involved, donating. It's such a fantastic cause, and yeah, well, Davey, fantastic, who's been running this. We know he appreciates it. We know that Mark Garside appreciates it, and yeah, we knew that the Belfast Giants fans and the View from the Bridge watchers, listeners, people who are involved were always really, really generous, and a massive thank you. And before we come to the final parts of the show, we just have to box off something else. That's the player of the month for November, and it was 51.8% for Steve Array, number 13 for your Belfast Giants. Davy, you had complained about some other players who weren't involved in the but Steve Array had a great month.
Sorry, I was just doing my blue steel intro there.
Go on then.
It's good. It's good.
We need to get these. We need to get on the Neil Whiteside. We need to get these.
Just need to be on the green screen day. Look, Steve Array, I think out of the 4 nominations was the deserved choice. Lovely picture there of him getting the award. That's great. I think Steve did really well last month, culminating, he had a 4-goal night against Cardiff, I think it was, and came up with a few clutch goals. Jackson, Colby, Derek, and Jelly. As I said last weekend, I would have had a couple of others on the shortlist, but the people spoke and the people voted, and Steve Array was the winner, and I think deservedly so.
The trophy was awarded by Graham and Cole Kenny. Graham was actually celebrating his second heart transplant anniversary, and fantastic. That big thanks to Laura for organising that. We love the fact that these guys are able to present this award. It means so much to us that we can get these guys involved, even in a small way, to present the awards like this. And a big thanks to Graham and to Cole Kenny for doing that. Joel?
Yeah, I was going to say I didn't get to see. We do a bit of running about at the end of a game, and I didn't get to see who presented it. And I just I noticed Graham there and his son. Happy second heart anniversary! What a special thing! We always take an opportunity to highlight those stories. We our own friend Dylan Kahi and stuff. People who have received that. What a perfect person to give out the award. A fully deserving transplant recipient as well. Good guy. But yeah, look, Steve Array has been fantastic. In a really rough month, he's found a form. He started to hit his stride in terms of points production. We now name him whenever we talk about the Giants' primary scoring. You know what I mean? So
yep.
I think he's very deserving of player of the month. Sorry, that was a bit of a ramble, but that photo caught me off guard.
Nope, I think you're absolutely right on both cases. I think that Steve, obviously had a bit of a slow start to the season, found that early goals, and is now finding a bit more of a scoring touch. And as I said, the people have spoken with over 50% of the vote, and he is the player of the month for November, sponsored by Phonacab. Big thanks to them for sponsoring the award, and big thanks to everybody who cast a vote in the player of the month award for November. The Belfast Giants return to action, as we've said a few times, on Saturday with a trip to SSE Arena, Wales, to take on the Cardiff Devils. That will be at Saturday at 7 p.m. If you're not making the trip over there, as I'm sure you are, Mr. McGimpsey, are you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's at 7 p.m. on Saturday, but I'm sure that there'll be no Welsh fans wanting to watch any football. So it'll be Cardiff against Belfast in SSE Arena, Wales, 7 p.m. on Saturday. If you're not going, Devils TV is where you will find it with our good friend Mr. Hewish. And then the Belfast Giants return to home action at the SSE Arena against the Dundee Stars. Jeff Mason bringing his team back in to the SSE Arena Sunday at 4 p.m. Get yourself down there, and if not, Mr. Kitchen will no doubt take you through the game on Giants TV with maybe Gareth Martin, maybe Andrew Dixon, somebody else, but Simon Kitchen is, of course, the staple. These two games, I am going to ask you a quick question, Davey. I know you hit this part of the show, but I'm going to ask you a question of you. This is a bounce back weekend. It has to be a bounce back weekend. And with it coming against the Cardiff Devils, we had a great result against the Cardiff Devils last time we faced them. So they'll be smarting from that. It's a tough weekend.
They've obviously had a bit of a doing over the night as well. So, it stands the reason that they'll want to bounce back as well. So it's all set for a good battle. And I'll go through all the cliches, Paddy. We're going to need good goaltending. We're going to need strong defense. We're going to need goals from more than one or two guys. It's not going to be a game. I don't think where one goal will win it. I think there's going to be. I'll throw my neck out. I won't give you even a score prediction. I think we'll win 3.
Hey, we're going to win 3-2.
It's not like you.
Hey, jot that down. 3-2. 3-2. Right, John. Joel.
Yeah, hard to call. Cardiff come out of a 4-point weekend, and they've obviously travelled to Sheffield there and got a bit of a doing. That seems to have finished 5-1. So I mean, yeah, you can't even say. Well, they've played more games. They've played one midweek, and we haven't, because obviously Manchester played on Friday, and you know what happened over the weekend. So, Giants Devil games have a little bit of extra spice to them. I always enjoy a bit of the kind of atmosphere around a game like that. It's a perfect opportunity for us to go on the road and to stamp a bit of authority. And then coming back against Jeff Mason's Dundee Stars on Sunday afternoon. Mason's no dozer. He struggled to find consistency with that Stars team, but on their night they can humble a team. So we heard from the captain earlier. We heard from the coach at the weekend. We know the Giants' mindset and the work that they're doing. So let's see if it pays off.
Absolutely. Those two games, Saturday and Sunday. Cardiff Devils on Saturday, 7 p.m. at Ice Arena, Wales. Get that on Devils TV. And on Sunday, Belfast against Dundee at the SSE Arena, 4 p.m. If you're not down at that, the Giants TV is the place for that. Any other business, boys?
I don't think so.
Silence is golden.
What's the roof space like, Davy? Is there a lot up there? Is it like Rockies?
I bet you there is. There's
I had an earpiece in it. Oh, mate, it's got too much in it. So it has.
I would love. You need to start like a Twitter account that documents all.
Pretty much every. I would say I've certainly well over 95% of every program, home and away, the Giants ever up to like whenever we stopped printing home programs, I stopped collecting away ones as well. But I would say up to 2012, something like that, 13. Whenever
I remember, I used to pick up programs for you.
Yeah,
Did you really?
Hundreds. Mate, I've got just Pampers boxes. So the little Pampers boxes, just dozens of them, just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of programs. And they're all some great reading. And from time to time, I'll go in and just do a lucky dip and pull one out and read about a game.
You know what? I'm with you on that, mate, because I've got a couple of shelves here in front of me that are dedicated to programs. Not just I've got one that's more or less hockey programs, and then I've got more or less any other sporting event I've been to. And one thing I love to do when I go to sporting events is buy a program, not to read it at the game, not to read it at Liverpool games, or I've got like Formula One and the Olympics and stuff. Not to read it then, but to read it now. I know I just had to drop
brag about it, mate.
Yeah, but to read it now is to actually, years and years later, just to pull a program out and read it. Like I've got some of the old Newcastle Vipers ones that even I wrote in, and just to pull those ones out later and just remember, oh yeah, I don't actually remember doing this interview, and or I remember that game, or remember when that happened. It's just that's where programs really. That's where they really hit. Is like I know that we stopped doing them, and I think that's sad. I think it's sad that we stopped doing them because
dying art in general.
It's not about the game.
It's not a thing that's done anymore. Really, it's a dying art. Whenever
even at Irish League.
Yeah, it's once you leave top tier kind of sport in like a Premier League or events where you would get souvenir things like the F1 and stuff, just printed programs are a thing that I see just leaving, and it's sad because it's so deeply rooted. Yeah, it's cost versus reward. I think it costs a lot. It also takes a lot of time for people to put together. And whenever you're trying to do that every single week for probably loss making, to be honest, it's sad, but it just seems really cool.
You're probably going to be left with a pile of like old programs that have been unsold, and you've forked out to print them, and you've not pulled back on that.
I just love getting the top shelf in the arena.
And of course, like the Giants did do the annual sort of guest book thing, or what was it called? The yearbook album that we did, that we used to love writing for, Davy.
Hey,
Lose love when Glover sent us that message saying, "Could you write the basis
why,
for it?"
why am I not being involved in this? I wrote the last
Oh yeah,
one.
you were
myself.
involved in that as well. That's
I
right.
wrote the last one myself.
You did write the last one. That's right. I used to love writing for that.
And with that, if there's
that
any
was different,
justice,
though.
to put our names on it as well. So,
I did, yeah. But then I found that different because writing for a program week on week and doing an interview week on week and doing some current, like what we do here, and keeping it current and doing stuff that I find that more interesting than the one.
Yeah,
I guess, to be honest, Paddy, this is a little bit of a, in lieu of a program. It's fan produced. At the end of the day, the program, I know, was club produced, but there was fan input and stuff into it. And what are you getting in a program that you're not really getting from socials now? So it's like, as Joel would say, the last thing the club needs is 100 programs sitting in a box every week unsold at, a couple of pound a print each, and it's just a hassle of selling them, having volunteers to sell them, and somebody to go to printers and get them every week, and somebody to write it every week. And Davy's not available to write this week. Who are you going to get? Just becomes a, I don't mean
got a bit dodgy. That got a bit dodgy when that happened, Davy. Let's not forget that. Davy's not available to write this week.
Oh no, that went badly wrong. So it did.
That went really badly wrong.
Nearly got us a court case. Tell you about it after, Joe.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
It was it got quite badly wrong, but it was very entertaining. Very entertaining nonetheless.
Right, press the stop button so we can get into this.
But yes, where were we on that? Yes, well done, Davy. Getting all that, and well done to everybody who's been sending in money. And we'll podcast at kingdomofthegiants.com on PayPal. Keep them coming.
No, that's it.
And I think we'll wrap it up there, boys. Oh no, we're done. We're done.
That's it.
Are we drawing a line on it now?
The money is done as of now. Yep.
There we
go.
More
donations.
Thank you to everybody.
Your money will be taken, but you won't go to the draw.
Thank you to everybody who's got involved during this show. We really, really appreciate it. And that is where we're going to wrap this show.
Phil for about 30 seconds there.
Oh, Phil, that was where we were going to wrap this show. But unfortunately, at this moment in time, I have to sort of fill for 30 seconds while Davy looks for something on his phone where I think he's just trying to count up numbers. He's statistics. Well, I'll take a sip of this beer.
You're listening to
he's the statistical guy who's going to be coming up. But what do we got, Davy? Still counting in his head. He's just going to do the numbers. Joel, if you got anything to say, come on, fill it up here.
Shout out to Colin Shields, who was on commentary on the game between the Devils and Steelers tonight. Sheds is doing a really good job. Speaking of commentators that are very good, obviously Sis stands alone atop the play-by-play ice hockey mountain, but Dicko, Marty, and also Sheds now doing a good job. It's good to see it. Plus Nesson's own Davy McJimsey. It looks like he's done now.
Hold on. Go, Davy.
I don't know what the deduction of PayPal fees, because not everybody does friends and family, but top line fees during the podcast, £271.50.
Unreal. Stunning. Well done,
that's
everybody.
Wonderful. Listen, that's unreal. That's absolutely fantastic. Listen, thank you so much to everybody who's stuck their hand in their pocket and sent something in for this. It is very, very, very much appreciated. And Davy's got to carry some stuff home in a big bag on a Ryanair flight.
That's super official DVD.
No doubt we'll get a tweet in about 18 months from now going, "You never did give me that DVD."
No doubt we're going to get a WhatsApp from Neil Russell saying, "Bet you don't send anything."
No, I'm going to. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put it all in a bag tomorrow and post it to my mum's house so it's there.
Good
nice.
Good idea. The Belfast Giants, I said, Saturday, 7 p.m. against the Cardiff Devils at SSE Arena, Wales. Get on Good Devils TV, and at home to Dundee Stars. 4 p.m. on Sunday, SSE Arena. Get yourself down there, and if not, Mr. Kitchen on Giants TV. Big thanks to David Goodwin for fronting up and joining us on this week's show. Big thanks to you, Davy, and to you, Joel.
Thanks, boys.
Big thanks to everybody who's donated. Big thanks to everybody who's been watching throughout the show. Be you a Belfast Giants fan, probably a few Manchester Storm fans.
They turned off ages
wherever
ago.
you are, they turned off. Then thanks for joining us this week's View from the Bridge. And wherever you are this weekend, we hope you enjoy your hockey. We'll catch you next time on A View from the Bridge.